This is a rate project. I replenish stocks. Money Tishkovets. Hello. On the contrary, Russia provides new data on the progress of a special military operation in Ukraine. A unit of the North Group of Forces continued to introduce offensive operations in the Kursk region, during which they were defeated in the areas of the settlements of Darina, Nizhny Klin, Nikolaev, Darina, Vovanovka, and Plekhov. The units of the group repelled 8 enemy counterattacks in the direction of the settlements of Dareno, Nizhny Klin, Nikolaev, and Darin. Ivanovka and Plekhova-Viso lost up to 70 people killed and wounded, a tank, an infantry fighting vehicle, 6 armored fighting vehicles, and 3 cars were destroyed by army aviation strikes, and artillery fire was defeated in the border areas of the Kursk region. Operationally, tactical aviation and missile forces carried out strikes on enemy concentration areas in the Sumy region. During the day, the loss of the Ukrainian armed forces amounted to more than 350 military personnel. 25 armored vehicles were destroyed, including a tank, an infantry fighting vehicle, and 23 armored fighting vehicles, as well as 2 armored repair mortars, an evacuation vehicle, and 25 cars. Extermination operation. Formation of high continues. Divisions of the North Group in the Kharkov direction were defeated by the formation of the enemy in the areas of the settlements of Shestakova, Volchansk, Odnobovka, and Goptovka. 2 enemy counterattacks were repelled. The enemy's loss amounted to up to 70 military personnel, 4 vehicles, and 3 D-30 howitzers. A unit of the West Group of Forces liberated the settlement of Krugliakovka. Enemies were defeated in the areas of settlements Petropavlovka, Berestovoy, Nadeya. Serebryansky Forestry repelled 5 counterattacks, so the enemy did not lose up to 410 military personnel, 2 infantry fighting vehicles, a Cossack armored fighting vehicle, 6 pickup trucks, a 20 MA gun, 119 RSZO Verba, a REP enclave station, and 5 field ammunition depots were destroyed by a unit of the Southern Group of Forces on. If the defeat is high in the areas of the settlements of Alexander Shultina, Zaleznyanskaya, Sukiya, Yalichas, Avyarmarkov, as well as Dalnyaya, Romanovka, Kurakova, Nikiforovka, Reznikovka, Seversky, Slavyansk, 2 enemy counterattacks were repelled. The enemy's loss amounted to up to 520 military personnel, an M113 armored personnel carrier, and an M3 Howitzer 7, an armored combat vehicle Cossack 7, and a Sozar 2 car. Siraya Panklav N. Barely from the ammunition depot, a unit of the Voitor Group, as a result of active offensive operations, liberated the village of Selidova. There was also a defeat in the areas of the settlements of Promin, Rozovka, Lisovka, Vishnevaya, Leninskaya, Druzhba, Alexandropol, and Dimitrov. 10 enemy counterattacks were repelled. The enemy lost up to 515 military personnel, an armored personnel carrier, 2 armored combat vehicles, 3 cars, and D-30 howitzers. A unit of the Vostok Group of Forces defeated Highlands in the areas of the settlements of Ravnopol and Oktyabar. 2 enemy counterattacks were repelled. The enemy lost up to 115 military personnel, a tank, and 8 South Caesar vehicles. Units of the VO Group from the Dnieper River defeated the VSO in the areas of settlements Belogorye, Nikolskaya, Tokarevka, and Otrada. Kamenka enemy losses amounted to up to 55 military personnel, 3 Sauzar vehicles, and 2 Arip enclave stations and operational tactical aviation. Strike drones, vehicles, missile forces, and artillery damaged the infrastructure of military airfields at the oil depot used to provide fuel to the unit. In the Zaporozhye, South Donetsk directions, an ammunition depot, temporary deployment point, and accumulation of enemy manpower and equipment in 147 areas were hit. Air defense systems shot down 1 HAMMERS guided missile, a Hammer guided aerial bomb, and 67 aircraft type unmanned aerial vehicles. In the Kursk direction, Russian troops are fighting in the women's areas in the south of the Glushkovsky district. Ukrainian formations are not making new attempts to advance. Soon in the Nevsky region, drone operators hit a Ukrainian BMP Odin in the Kremeny area in the Sheptukovka area. Russian fighters captured a Leopard tank in the Suzhensky region. Operationally, tactical aviation hit the temporary deployment point of Ukrainian formations in Darin. Fighting was noted in the areas of Novoivanovka and Zeleny Shliak. There was no information about the advances of Russian troops in this area. The enemy maintains the presence of Plekov, but is experiencing supply problems in the Sumy region. Our military inflicted fire on various targets in the Cuban direction. Our units managed to take the important height of Blestela, Stelmakovka, and advance for 2.5 kilometers towards Lozova. Thus, ours are afraid even closer to the Oskol River. And earlier the Russian military came to this river, liberating Kruglikovka and advancing to the line of Zagrizov. Russian troops are approaching Kubinska from other sides. They are especially close to the city from the village of Petropavlovka. Ukrainian publics write that the Russian army is already 2.5 kilometers from the settlement. It is clear that it is advisable to systematically take the city of the Ring. To do this, it is necessary to reach the Oskol River and force it so that it is possible to cover Kuping from all sides in the Pokrovsky direction. Another segment of the territory west of the urban-type village Grodovka and north of the village Nikolaevka came under the control of our fighters. Both of these settlements were liberated by our military, previously under control. The section also includes the happiness of highways T-0511 between Nikolaevka and the village of Promin now, and the defensive geometry of the high ground will either have to be rebuilt or the remnants of its units moved to the city limits of Mirnograd in the South Donetsk direction. Russian troops continue their offensive in the direction of Kurakov. According to the latest data, the urban-type village of Kurakovka in the Democratic Republic of the Russian Federation came under the control of the Russian military in different parts of the populated Pud. Russian flags have already been raised in particular on the territory of mines number 40, 0, and 42, and Kurakovskaya concentration factories. Russian attack aircraft have occupied the positions of the Kurakovka trap of the Volcha River and are advancing towards Ilyinka. It is worth noting that the day before Kurakovka railway station came under our control. After that, parts of the opponents actually stopped resistance and began to flee. Currently, Russian units continue to move forward, concentrating their main efforts on encircling Kurakov. Footage has appeared on the internet confirming the presence of our military in Yasnaya Polyana in the northeastern part. In the afternoon, battles continued to complete them and clear the village. While there is no information, the fighting for the clearing also indicates the complete liberation of Shaktyorsky, located to the south, most of which Russian troops occupied on October 27th. Before this, footage also shows the exit of our military to the northeastern outskirts and the retreat in the direction of the forest area west of Bogoyavlenka. Russian flags were also raised on the western outskirts of the village, and the Vostokny farms were taken under control. Thus, in just a few days in this direction, our fighters liberated 2 settlements at once. On October 27th, the Russian military took under fire control the road to Elizavetovka to the nearest position of the Ukrainian howitzers. There are no more than 300 Nepal left. Russian flags have already been raised in the central part of Ekaterinovka. In addition, on the morning of October 28th, footage from the enemy appeared on the internet, confirming the attack of our military between Katerinovka and Balka-Solenenkaya, where fierce clashes took place. At the same time, on the western part of the flag hoisting should not wait due to the proximity to the Ukrainian position near the neighboring Antonovka-Ilyinka, most likely the riverbed of the Suky Yala River adjacent to it. For now, I will remain in the gray area, also fields west of Victory. There is no information about changes in the configuration of the front yet. In fact, the VSU only has 3 large defense units left. On the way of the Russian troops, Kurakov's cover, as well as the Great Novosalkalka. Taking into account the fact that the latter have already begun to isolate the likely imminent confluence, Kurakov is increasing every day. The only point of application of efforts remains Pokrovsk. As soon as the combat tasks on all 3 points are completed, the Russian army will be able to enter the Dnipropetrovsk region. On Thursday, the synoptic situation in the zone itself will be due to the influence and passage of cold atmospheric frost. An area of 7-10 points is expected, medium layers of cumulus, separately cumulus, with a rainfall height of 500-800 millimeters, with precipitation sagging the lower edge up to 300-500 meters, return the edges 6-7 kilometers, in places short-term rain, apparently 6-10 kilometers, southwest wind with a transition to the northwestern Rumba, 4-9 millimeters per second. Gusty air temperatures during the day, +11, 16 at night will cool to 0 +5, vision of strategic aerial reconnaissance, and the stratosphere by space, and unmanned vehicles using optics of electronic means. in the expected difficult weather conditions. The weather conditions for guidance of radio and radar strategic aerospace reconnaissance will be difficult. Will Colonel Turkovitz have an impact? The treasure is over. Sign. Our cause is right. The enemy will be defeated. Victory will be ours. I have the honor.